Hi, I'm Luke MacEachern.
Hey Luke, what's going on?
Hey Dad, just doing a video.
Can I get in on it?
No, you can't get on it. Maybe if you play some music or something.
We could do that, sure.
I live in Strathlorne, just outside of Inverness, Nova Scotia. I'm 18 years old. I have my dad's Glenn and my mom's Vicky, and I have a sister Emily who's currently at St. X for nursing. I work at the Sheen Co-op as a cashier, and I'm currently in grade 12. Just making some coffee, Mike.
Is this coffee for your guests or for yourself, or what's going on?
Both.
So who carries this coffee? Where do I buy this coffee?
You can buy this Nabob fantastic coffee at the Sheen Co-op in Inverness.
Nice. Do you happen to work there, Luke?
Oh yeah, I work there as a cashier. Some of my interests are sailing at the Mabu Sailing Club with Danny McDonald, lobster fishing with my grandfather, and basically everything involving the water. I go lobster fishing with my grandfather every spring for a program at school called the Co-op program, which is basically doing a work term and you earn a credit for it, and it teaches you about working and responsibility and that. I'm actually accepted to NSCC for marine navigation in Roxbury. Yeah, I'm really excited. My dad and I are pretty close. We do quite a bit together. Quite a few road trips and going to the beach and stuff.
And you work together?
Yeah, he's my boss.
Your boss.
The co-op closes at 7, so I still have time after I get off to do stuff like homework or just anything really. In 2016, I received the Puffin Award for Literacy Excellence for a story I wrote and called The Roar of the Atlantic, which is about fishermen from Cape Breton. Well, I was asked to attend the Cabot Trail Writers Festival, and I actually got to read my story in front of different authors from around Canada and America, and that was really cool to get to see them and talk to them and stuff. For my trip to France, I attended Encounters with Canada in Ottawa for the National Remembrance Day ceremony, and after that, one of my teachers, Mr. Liliev, put my name forward to Veterans Affairs Canada, and I was one of 2 high school students from Nova Scotia who got selected to go with Veterans Affairs Canada along with 24 other students from across Canada to attend the ceremony. Well, the experience overall was absolutely incredible, just to be there for the 100th of IMI and just to see all what you read in books and stuff and actually get to be there, and where so many people from our town actually were during both World Wars, and it was really amazing. No, I don't speak French. I was pretty lost being there. Had some translators though, which was good. Got to stay with my aunt and uncle in Ottawa, which was pretty awesome, and then flew home the next day. Well, got to come home to some good home-cooked meals and stuff. Definitely, that was the furthest I've ever been from home. Here in Inverness, we all know each other. We know each other's families, which it's good because there's that connection. But there, it doesn't really seem like many people really know each other. It's such a big place, and stuff I missed about Inverness was definitely just being by the ocean and just I guess knowing people around town and stuff, which was something that I really like about living here. Inverness is definitely somewhere that I want to live when I'm older, just even if it's a summer home, but I don't think I really want to leave Nova Scotia. It's definitely a place that I really love, and going to different places, I know that Nova Scotia is kind of where I want to live for the rest of my life, I think. And I'll just have to wait and see.
What would change that? Would it be a job opportunity, a career opportunity, matters of the heart? Like what would make you leave Inverness?
I think it would have to be something to do with my job, because job I want to do, I wouldn't really have many opportunities in Inverness, but I definitely would in a place like Halifax. After high school, I hope to become a ship's officer and basically travel the world.
Glenn, thank you for being a part of Luke's video. And I need to ask you a question of an event that happened roughly 7 years ago. And it was Luke in the water and you saving him from a disaster. I just wonder if you can maybe just bring that whole incident back to life and just share with us, if you don't mind.
We were going down the beach. It was a Sunday afternoon, nice sunny afternoon, and Luke and Emily, both my children, and a friend of theirs, Annie, we went down to the beach at Inverness Beach Village for an afternoon of swimming and fun. And Luke had an inflatable boat that we had planned to use going down into the water, and there was a little rope attached to the front of it. Anyway, so the boat was ready to go. We had it at the water's edge, and Luke was ready to get in it. And I realized I had my wallet in my back pocket of my shorts, and I turned to put my wallet into my sneakers that were on the beach there, about 10 feet away, 15 feet away from the waters, from the shore. And so when I turned and went up to my sneakers, when I turned back, Luke had jumped into the boat, and it was quite windy that day, and the wind started pushing the boat away. So I waded back, I waded into the water, and with the intent of just going in and grabbing the rope and pulling him back. But by the time I had got there, he was quite a ways out. The wind was pushing him fairly fast. So at that point I didn't panic. I was, I realized I probably had to go to swim to get him, but I'm a strong swimmer, and I, didn't think anything really of it. So started out trying to get to him, and the wind was blowing pretty hard, and he was going on at a pretty good clip. Of course, no life jacket on him or anything like that. It was just a little guy in the boat. So started swimming pretty hard to get him, and I was gaining a little ground and talking to him all the while, all along, and gaining a little bit and then losing a little bit when I had a rest. As I said, I am a strong swimmer, but the wind was quite high that day, and everything just really happened really, really fast. I wasn't quite sure where we were at the time, but at some point I heard sirens going off, fire trucks or ambulance or something, and I realized somebody had called 911 or something happened anyway. And when I did hear the sirens, I quite vividly remember I was on my back at the time looking up at the sky and kind of looking over my shoulder just to keep him in in eye contact, or at least in keep sight of where he is or was. And when I heard those sirens, I remember looking up and I just said, thank God somebody had called. Come to find out afterwards, it was Brendan Kennedy, who was on the beach at the time. I remember passing him and Cynthia and their children. They were at the beach that day too. I guess Brendan saw what was happening and had his wits about him and realized that this was not a good scene. So we're grateful for that. So Brendan had called 911 and heard the sirens, and I realized that, okay, this is going in the right direction now. Luke was drifting off towards the plaster rocks. And I would say when the fishing boats did come to pick us up, I think we were just off the plaster rocks there, which is, I'm not sure how far up the beach there, probably a couple of kilometers. So the boat went to Luke. I saw the boat, Luke's boat coming out of the water. They hauled it up, hauled him first, of course, and then swung around to get me. And Luke kind of pointed to where I was. Boat circled around and pulled up beside me. And I looked up and I saw Bernie McDonald and two Bernies, Bernie McDonald and Bernie Hinckley were the two gentlemen that came. And as I mentioned, this was Sunday afternoon and races were going on. So I'm assuming what happened is they were at the racetrack and along with the volunteer firefighters or whoever was up there got the page that there was somebody in trouble down in the water. So they left from the racetrack and got I think it was Jordan McDougall's boat and sped out to get us. I think Wally Walker was also on the water at the time trying to get to us as well. Bernie Hinckley just grabbed hold of me and hauled me up. I hit the deck of the boat and I just glanced over at Luke and I just said, "Are you all right, bud?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I said, "Good." I think the adrenaline and everything, I was just, I kind of crashed at that point because I did take a look around and I realized how far we were out and, thankfully for somebody's quick thinking and well, I guess really realizing that, what was going on, Brendan for calling 911 and then those other, the fishermen who responded, Bernie and Wally was there too, I believe. And goodness knows who else. I don't know who else left the wharf, but everybody pulled together and kind of saved the day.
Well, Glenn, this is in complete character for you to give credit to everyone else, but those of us that know you and those of us that read the story, I'm sure will give credit mainly to you for responding the way you did to saving your son's life. And I don't know if you've had any previous preparation, any training in doing so, or you just an instinct that kicked in. You felt confident enough to dive in and swim to Luke's. Were you ever afraid of your own life?
No. I guess you just, you just do it. I mentioned I was a strong swimmer. That's not what I thought, though, when I was going into the water. I just said, well, I have to go get my son. And when I realized how bad it was getting, I never wavered from that. I never, of course I would never turn around or go back to shore and try it some other way. I just was struggling to do what I could and to keep him safe and hopefully save him. I do remember when I was swimming my hardest, looking ahead, trying to gain ground on the boat. I was just, the thought came to my head that I just decided that you weren't going alone. I was talking to Luke in my head that, we're in this together and it's, whatever happens, it's going to be to the both of us. So, and I just remember really being just as committed to that and never wavering, so I wasn't giving up.
Since I have met you, Glenn, and I've met Luke, I can't help noticing that there's a very strong bond between you and Luke. You've recently traveled together to Dominican Republic. Luke works at the store that you manage. So am I right to say that that incident helped bring you even closer together?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that's for sure. I do remember that night when he was safe at home in bed, just looking at him sleeping there, and I just, so thankful for how things turned out, and really, as I mentioned before, thankful for the whole, the town responding the way that they did, and it certainly brought us closer. I mean, we were pretty tight anyway, and as you mentioned, we're a close-knit family. Luke and his mom, Miss Vicky, are extremely close as well. They're very much alike, actually. I'd say you're right on the money there, Mike.
Luke seems to be unafraid of the water. In fact, he talks about lobster fishing with his grandfather. He talks about sailing, and he could live on the water, from what I understand, if he possibly could. Can you explain that?
When that happened, it did really shake him up. He was pretty timid of the water after that, or shortly after that. But he always had an interest in boats, and so one thing Vicky did was immediately, the following year, enrolled him in sailing lessons up in Mabu there, the place you mentioned. So that was a really, really smart thing to do, and he gained a lot of confidence up there on the water. It was a tremendous program for him to do. He ended up buying a sailboat, actually, a couple of years after that. And so yeah, Vicky got him right into sailing, and Vicky's father, Gordon, is a lobster fisherman, and Gordon's brothers are all involved. So there was that aspect of it too. He was always exposed to that, boating and fishing and the water. So I think that if Vicky had enrolled him in the sailing, and then wasn't constantly exposed to it, he probably wouldn't got over it as well as as much as he did. Right now he's just so comfortable in the water. He loves it. He wants to pursue that as a career, and I'm just really happy for him. That worked out for him.
Glenn, thank you for participating in Luke's video. You walked into it, and you only have yourself to blame for this.
And you.
Thank you.
You were face to face with a life-threatening situation in the water. Mm-hmm. You were young, and yet it hasn't deterred you from pursuing sailing, fishing, and everything to do with water. So maybe you can explain that. Just let me know why you're still so trusting of water, you're so fascinated by it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of something that I just knew I had to get over. It was not something that I could escape from, really. My mom enrolled me in sailing, so that's with Danny. So that's probably one of the things that got me back into it. And then my grandfather being a lobster fisherman, so I've been exposed to boats from a young age. And then I'm out with him quite a bit, and he experienced things that probably similar to me throughout his career, and it's just something that that makes you, I guess, respect the water, and it's just something that you kind of need to experience to fully, I guess, grasp it.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Anything you want to say to your friends, at the beach or school or anything else? Hey, say, guys, I'm the first one to be featured as the youth of Inverness. Eat your heart out. Hey.
I'm the first person to be featured in WHOis under 50, so that's a pretty big accomplishment.
Thank you, Luke.
You're welcome.
You're a wonderful young man. Really appreciate you doing this and giving us an insight into your own world, plus a big plug for Inverness, Nova Scotia, Cape Breton Island. Here we are.